Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Tuesday, February 7th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Indiana game is in 207 days. The game against Michigan in 291 days. We are talking football again today, and we are going to be hearing from new offensive coordinator Brian Hartline. Hartline may be on the track to take over the play calling duties at some point. They're kind of testing things out this spring and seeing how things go. Ryan Day talked a bunch about that last week, about trying to get some stuff off of his plate so he can focus on some bigger picture program running CEO type things, especially later in the season. So Hartline is the man who they have tasked with that job of taking over as the play caller and offensive coordinator. We're going to be hearing directly from Hartline today about that, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. NIL. Oh yeah, he is still the receivers coach too, so you'll be hearing from him a little bit about that as well. But I guess let's start with some sort of big picture 30,000 foot view kind of stuff here. What is the role of an offensive coordinator in Brian Hartline's mind?
It's definitely multifaceted. In a coach in general, I think you wear a lot of hats. You don't just, I think sometimes coaching receivers, I'm blessed with a great room, but I used to say coaching is like the last thing I do, but I would say being an offensive coordinator is, putting your fingerprint on things that you find more important than others. At the end of the day, you have an allocation of time, how you allocate that time. You have a list of plays and schemes, and what you find, an A play versus a B play and a C play, that becomes probably more your identity. That's probably your responsibility. I think that being able to enhance the people around you. My job as a receiver coach is to get the best out of the receivers. My job as offensive coordinator is to maximize each, guy in that room, each coach in that room, to what they're capable of. So that doesn't change, I think, in the grand scheme, but maybe the dynamics within the groups maybe are a little different.
As I mentioned earlier, part of the decision to turn those play calling duties over was just about Day dealing with off-field responsibilities, especially later in the season. So is that something that Hartline has seen, Day having to deal with a lot of other stuff during the course of the year?
Yes, that's probably natural. I think the longer you're in it, the more that, college football morphs. Let's take a snap back to what college football was in 2015 and then where it is in, 2020, 2023. It's vastly different. And I think that as he continues to be in the head coaching role, and there's more put on your plate, and there's more people, and there's more hands on you, and it just grows, right? And I think Ohio State demands that, obviously, at the highest level. So, I think that he feels that more than I would ever, and he's just trying to do right by what he thinks would be best to help maximize the team. And he spoke about it a little bit, but this day has come.
Hartline spent last year as the passing game coordinator, and that was something that a little bit of a title bump for Hartline as they were trying to keep him happy and keep him on staff, and was also a little bit more responsibility and involved a lot more thinking about things like blocking schemes than he would maybe necessarily have to think about just in his old role as just the pure wide receivers coach. So how did that little step up in responsibility last year help prepare him for the next step now?
Yeah, I think it's all critical. I don't think, it's not just carrying a title, I don't believe. I think it's probably more than that. But as you continue to build in any profession, more responsibilities and how you handle those responsibilities and how those fingers reach outside of the responsibilities you're technically supposed to have really just show probably your growth potential. So it's not just me, it's anybody. I like to think I did a good job with that. But again, still a reset. Here's where I'm at now, and now where can I grow from here, and how can I help this team accomplish the goals we want to accomplish.
Hartline has had a front row seat for some of the best game calling that Ohio State has had over the history of the program since 2018. What are some of the things that he's learned from Ryan Day about calling a game over the last few seasons?
It's not going to be perfect. I think that, relying on those around you for recommendations, implementing those recommendations, being okay to agree with some but not agree with some, that's okay. Again, I've been on the headset with him for 5-6 years, so there's been a lot to learn from. His calm, I think, has been really good. I think the conversations at halftime and how those go kind of resonate with me big time. So there's lots of things. To nail it down just to one, would be hard to do. But again, I mean, given that opportunity, he's still going to be on the headset with me. So it's not like I have to write him down and take it with me. He's going to be right there. So, like I said, I mean, given the opportunity, a lot of confidence because of the guys around me.
The good news for Hartline is he doesn't have to call a game today, but if he did, how confident would he be about doing that?
Pretty comfortable, just because with the surrounding party I have. I mean, I think that, Coach Day has always done that at an elite level. We've always produced, from a production standpoint, offensively at an elite level. But the support staff I have around me really empowers me. So my confidence comes from having them, and so I'd be very confident.
As the offensive coordinator, he's going to have a say in a lot more stuff than he used to. So one of those things is the new quarterback. What's going to go into that decision for him?
I constantly assess players myself. I mean, I assess my 5-year-old son. I mean, I can't watch him play sports because I'm assessing it. So that's just what we do all the time. And I think, the biggest thing to remind yourself sometimes is new year, new identity. Some players are carryover, but there's new players. And every year you have a new identity. These players look for a new opportunity to reestablish themselves or to establish themselves. And giving them that opportunity, I think, is critical. I think sometimes the byproduct of past years gets stuck in your mind as a coach, which, and remember, as a player, like, okay, hold on now. Like, this is my next year, new opportunity. Maybe some older guys are gone, my voice can be louder, so you got to make sure as a coach you provide that platform to where those players can enhance themselves as well.
Last week, Ryan Day talked about wanting to ideally know who the starting quarterback was at the end of the spring. So how important is that to Hartline to know who that's going to be, whether it's going to be Devin Brown or Kyle McCord, sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I don't think there's ever a rush. I think that, I'll lean heavily on Coach Day with how that all goes down. And everyone, people have an opinion and have a voice, but that quarterback room is pretty well established over the last 4, 5, 6 years of the standard at which they operate. And Coach Day obviously is the reason for that, and Coach Dennis. So those guys will do a great job, do what they do, and I'm sure I'll just be a part of the conversation.
Hartline has a reputation across the sport of college football as a great recruiter, but NIL has obviously become a big part of some of those conversations he's having with players and everyone else is having with players right now. So is Hartline starting to get more comfortable with the new realities of life recruiting with NIL?
You're definitely getting more comfortable with it. I think that the dust still has not settled. I think the only way it settles is with time. And I think, guys seeing the reality of, what's happening and not happening, what's real and not real, that won't show until down the road. And so, but it's definitely more comfortable. It's here to stay, so it's not as new. But definitely interesting dynamic though.
Hartline is someone who has to deal with this just about every day on the recruiting trail. So is he kind of comfortable with where the Ohio State program is right now with NIL?
Yeah, I mean that's the fine balance, right? You always want to have more, and that's just the reality of it. I mean, if you asked NFL teams if they wish the salary cap was higher, they would say, yeah, they wish it was higher. So, I would say that I'm really happy with where we're at. I think that, I'm proud of the way we've gone about it. I'm sure Coach Day can hit on it more. I don't want to speak, out of context there, but we definitely want to be sustainable. We definitely want to be, very thoughtful and thorough, and really, do right by the young men. And I think that we're doing that at a pretty good clip.
How big of a role is that really playing in recruiting right now? Is NIL the center of every recruitment? Is it just sort of one factor that among many with a lot of players, or are there kids who really don't ask about it at all? How big of a role is NIL really playing in recruiting at the moment?
Well, I think it's a part of a variable. Like the variable, like anything, can change. So where those people, where the young athletes place that variable in the importance of their recruitment is on them. And we know it's important. We don't believe it's the most important. So all that has to match up, and I think that's really important. I think that's part of maybe the emphasis in the athlete's mind or family's mind and all that, and it all plays a part, right? At the end of the day, there's a bunch of variables on the table. You're trying to assess the variables and determine that young man's odds of success based on the variables. That's the combine, that's recruiting, that's all that. So now it's another variable. How you handle that variable and how you place it is up to assessment.
You've heard Nick Saban talk recently about backing away from players or just asking players to leave if they made too big of a deal out of NIL. So if a talented recruit said to Brian Hartline that NIL and making as much money as possible from it is the most important factor for them, is that a deal breaker from his perspective?
I would say that it's probably per position per coach. I would say as a receiver coach, probably not a guy that would fit in our room. So however each coach handles it and how Coach Day wants to handle it, that's fine, but I'm okay with saying that's probably not the right fit for us in our room.
We mentioned earlier that as the offensive coordinator, Hartline's going to have a say in a lot more decisions, including the starting quarterback position. But it also means he's going to be playing a bigger role now in recruiting for a bunch of those positions all across the offense. Is that something he's looking forward to?
No, I think, it's exciting. I like being able to reach out to those guys. I think that, I lean heavily on the guys that help steer me. I want to make sure, again, I think my job as a coordinator is to help facilitate the position coaches to go after the guys they want, not to go get the guys, but to help facilitate. And just like Coach Day helps facilitate with the receivers, but it's still my responsibility. That's how I feel. So I lean heavily on the position coaches to help guide me on where they want it and where they want me and where they don't. I mean, that's really important. But the opportunity to meet more young men and make an imprint on them and hopefully get them here, and that can build. I mean, the biggest part I've told you, Berm, before is through recruiting. I feel like, the relationship part can be built, because if there's no relationship, there's no coaching. You can only coach a guy as hard as the relationship allows. And I like to try to not hedge my bets, but speed that process up through recruiting. So when they get here, they already know, Hart calls, it's for a reason, and not being like, oh, hey, I'm Coach Hart, nice to meet you. And it takes 6 months to build that relationship. It's really hard to coach in that first 6 months then versus when they step on campus. So just like the receivers, I would feel the same way about the other positions.
Hartline was up there for probably 15, 18 minutes answering questions, and virtually all of it was about the offensive coordinator position, NIL, and some of the other realities of college football right now. But he is still the receivers coach, and he was asked one question about the receivers. So here it is. No Emeka Egbuka, no Julian Fleming this spring. Marvin Harrison, you have to assume, is not going to be taking a million reps because they feel like he's in a decent spot. So that presents a real opportunity for some of the younger guys to take that next step in their careers. So what does he need to see from them, and what does he need to hear from the other coaches about them to have them potentially earn more playing time this fall?
I think right now in the offseason program, the biggest thing is, and I'll just share it with you, is that, I said right now you should be trying to impress your peers. Impress your peers. Your peers know. Players know. By trying to impress your peers, that means everything, right? Being on time, if not early, how you work, how you communicate, if you're up front, you're not in front, all those things matter. And I think by doing that, you'll probably in turn impress Coach Mick, because Coach Mick knows what it looks like. He runs the program. He's really the facilitator of all culture at Ohio State. And if you can impress him, you're on the right track. I've never seen a guy impress Coach Mick and not be on the field. So do that, and then obviously the coaches. So if you keep your mindset on, again, impress your peers, because those peers are hard to impress, that'll byproduct to probably impress Coach Mick, and your coaches will be impressed. The rest will take care of itself. So that's the focus, I would say, through the off-season months.
Well, that is going to do it for Brian Hartline, but we have a number more of these shows coming up, as we'll be hearing from other Ohio State assistants. I'm going to try and stagger these, so we'll go do an offensive show, and then a few days later we'll do a defensive show, and then a few days later we'll go back to an offensive show, so we don't get too repetitive. Keep you guys give you guys a mixture of a bunch of different places around the field. By the way, I did finally get a really good answer on in the YouTube comments a few days ago on one of these other shows. I was never really sure why people love these so much, and someone said it's because now you hear what the question is. You hear the setup to the question, as opposed to some of these press conferences where you can't hear the question, so you can watch and you're sort of trying to guess at what the question was around the that set up the answer. So there you go. All right, I'm happy with that answer. I have always thought, cool. I'm happy to do whatever you guys want to do. If you guys like these shows, I'm happy to keep doing them. But there you go. I thought that was a good explanation. So if you guys like these shows, let me know in the comments. If you guys want other shows, you want to hear from other folks, you want to hear more about recruiting, you want to hear more about scheme, whatever it is, let us know in the comments on YouTube. Message me on Twitter, whatever it is. Let me know. As I've said before, I'm not here to hear myself talk. I'm here to talk and tell you guys information. Whatever you guys want to know about, that's what we're here to do. We get to do these every day, so we can touch on a bunch of different topics. So if there's something you guys want to hear about, let me know. You can also leave us a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. We would always appreciate those 5-star reviews. You want to leave a comment in there on, I like these shows, do more of these shows, whatever, that's fine. We'll be happy to look for those there as well. So thank you guys for all of that, and thank you guys for those of you who are members at BuckeyeHuddle.com. And if you're not, well, you might want to consider signing up today. We have a fantastic team of insiders, Kevin, Tony, and I covering the team, Mark and Alex on recruiting. We've got a whole mess of X's and O's scheme guys as well. Fantastic community, very active board. It is all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up today. Give it a try for a month. See if you like it, and we think you will, because it is a pretty fun community with a lot of really good insight and analysis from a bunch of folks who've been doing this for quite a while, probably starting to get a sense that we know what we're doing. So that will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.